Imagine mysteries so dark they linger in the shadows of history, haunting families and investigators for decades. These are the stories where answers remain elusive, justice unattainable, and the questions far more chilling than the truth could ever be. Tonight we unravel 16 cold cases that defy explanation, each one more unsettling than the last. Stay with us because these stories will make you question how such horrors can remain unsolved. Let's begin. 1. The Walker Family Murders, 1959. In the small town of Osprey, Florida, the Walker family was brutally murdered in their home just before Christmas. Cliff and Christine Walker, along with their 2 young children, were shot to death, their bodies left in a scene of unimaginable violence. Initially, suspicion fell on Perry Smith and Richard Hickok, the infamous killers from Truman Capote's In Cold Blood, who were in Florida around the time of the murders. However, forensic evidence never conclusively linked them to the crime. Over the decades, investigators explored other suspects, but no arrests were ever made. Theories range from random robbery to a personal vendetta, but none have been proven. The case remains one of Florida's most haunting mysteries, a cruel reminder of how entire families can vanish without answers. 2. The Ketty Cabin Murders, 1981. In the peaceful community of Ketty, California, Cabin 28 became the site of a horrific massacre that shocked the nation. Sue Sharp, her teenage son, and a family friend were found brutally murdered, their bodies tied and bludgeoned. Sue's daughter and her friend were abducted but miraculously found alive in another room. The crime scene was disturbingly violent, with signs of overkill suggesting a personal motive. Despite initial investigations, the case grew cold until decades later, when new evidence pointed to potential local suspects and even police corruption. Still, no one has ever been brought to justice. The unanswered questions, and the horror left behind in Cabin 28, remain a grim chapter in true crime history. 3. The Oakville Blobs, 1994. On an August evening in Oakville, Washington, an unusual rainstorm brought something other than water. It rained gelatinous blobs. These strange jelly-like substances fell from the sky, coating everything in sight. Residents who came into contact with the blobs reported sudden and severe illnesses, including nausea, difficulty breathing, and extreme fatigue. Tests revealed the substance contained human white blood cells, but its origin remains a mystery. Some speculated it was the result of military testing gone wrong, while others whispered about extraterrestrial activity. Despite investigations by environmental scientists and government agencies, no concrete explanation has ever been found. The Oakville Blobs remain one of the most bizarre and inexplicable phenomena in modern history, leaving a town shaken and skeptical. 4. The Mystery of the Isdal Woman, 1970. In November 1970, a woman's charred body was discovered in Isdalen Valley, near Bergen, Norway. The woman's identity was never determined, and she was dubbed the Isdal Woman. Investigators discovered that her clothes had labels removed, and her fingerprints had been erased, making it nearly impossible to identify her. Further investigation uncovered that she had been traveling through Norway under several different aliases. Some theorized that she was a spy or a part of a covert operation. And theories ranging from espionage to an international criminal network have surrounded the case. Despite extensive efforts to solve the case, the Isdal woman's true identity and the circumstances of her death remain unknown. If these mysteries are gripping you as much as they haunt history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that defy explanation. Together, we'll uncover the darkest corners of the unknown. 5. The Chicago Tylenol Murders, 1982. In 1982, the simple act of taking Tylenol turned deadly in Chicago. 7 people, ranging in age from 12 to 35, died after ingesting capsules laced with cyanide. The poisoning seemed random, creating widespread panic as shelves were cleared of Tylenol across the nation. Authorities launched one of the largest investigations in U.S. history, but despite numerous leads and suspects, the perpetrator was never caught. The case led to the introduction of tamper-proof packaging, a legacy of safety born from tragedy. However, the randomness of the crime and the killer's ability to evade justice continues to baffle investigators. Was it a calculated act of domestic terrorism or the twisted work of a lone individual? The Chicago Tylenol murders remain one of the most chilling unsolved cases, a haunting reminder of how vulnerable we can be. 6. The Sodder Children, 1945. On Christmas Eve, the Sodder family's home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, went up in flames, but the fire brought more questions than answers. While 5 of the children were presumed dead, no remains were ever found in the ashes, sparking suspicions of foul play. The family reported strange occurrences before the fire, including threatening phone calls and strangers watching their home. After the tragedy, the Sodders received mysterious notes and photographs suggesting the children were still alive. Some believe the fire was set to cover a kidnapping, while others point to a vendetta against the Sodder family. Decades later, the truth remains elusive, leaving the surviving family members to wrestle with haunting uncertainty. Were the children victims of a tragic accident, or were they taken in a calculated act of revenge? The mystery of the Sodder children continues to perplex and disturb. 7. The Long Island serial killer Lisk. The remote beaches of Long Island, New York, have become the dumping ground for one of the most elusive serial killers in modern history. Over the course of a decade, the remains of at least 10 victims, most of them sex workers, were discovered in the area. Anonymous phone calls from the suspected killer to the victims' families only deepened the horror of the case. Despite extensive investigations and the involvement of the FBI, no arrests have been made, and the killer remains unidentified. Was this the work of one individual or multiple predators taking advantage of the same territory? Theories point to possible connections within law enforcement or powerful individuals covering their tracks. The Long Island serial killer, often referred to as the Gilgo Beach Killer, continues to haunt the public and frustrate authorities, a ghost hiding in plain sight. 8. Agatha Christie, 1926. The world-renowned mystery novelist Agatha Christie herself became the subject of a real-life mystery in 1926. On the night of December 3rd, Christie disappeared from her home without a trace, leaving behind her car and an unfinished manuscript. Her disappearance sparked a nationwide search, but she was not found for 11 days. When she reappeared in a hotel in Harrogate, she had amnesia and had no memory of the events that had taken place. Though Christie eventually attributed her disappearance to a breakdown from stress and personal issues, many continue to speculate about the true cause. Some believe it was an elaborate publicity stunt, while others suggest she might have been trying to escape her tumultuous marriage or a deep depression. The unexplained circumstances surrounding her disappearance remain a topic of debate, adding a layer of intrigue to her already mysterious writing career. Agatha Christie's brief disappearance, as much as her literary legacy, continues to captivate the public imagination. Just when you think the answers are within reach, the shadows pull them away. These mysteries are not just stories, they're real, and the terror they bring is timeless. But the next cases are even more haunting. 9. The Jamison family disappearance, 2009. Bobby, Sherilyn, and their 6-year-old daughter, Madison, set out to purchase land in the remote mountains of Oklahoma. But what should have been a simple trip turned into a nightmare. Their truck was discovered abandoned, with $32,000 in cash, their IDs, and their dog inside alive but malnourished. Months later, the family's skeletal remains were found miles away, with no clear cause of death. Adding to the mystery, security footage from their home showed the couple behaving strangely, moving in and out of their house like they were in a trance. Theories abound. Were they victims of a cult, foul play, or even a murder-suicide pact? Despite extensive investigations, the Jamison family's fate remains an enigma, a chilling tale of how people can vanish into the wilderness with no explanation. 10. The Erickson Twins, 2008. The case of Ursula and Sabina Erickson is as perplexing as it is chilling. The Swedish twins gained global attention when they ran into traffic on a British highway, surviving despite being hit by cars. Their erratic behavior continued, with Sabina being released from custody shortly after. Shockingly, she stabbed a man to death and then jumped off a bridge, surviving yet again. The twins' bizarre actions have been attributed to folie à deux, or shared psychosis, but their behavior defies conventional explanations. Was it mental illness, drug use, or something more sinister? The Eriksson twin story leaves more questions than answers, a terrifying reminder of how the mind can unravel in unthinkable ways. These cases leave us grappling with questions that seem destined to remain unanswered. If you found this journey into the unexplained as gripping as we did, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more. And don't stop here, watch our next video. 13 Most Shocking Disappearances That Defy Explanation. The mysteries only grow darker. 11. The Icebox Murders, 1965. In Houston, Texas, Fred and Edwina Rogers were discovered in a crime scene straight out of a nightmare. Their bodies were dismembered and stuffed into their refrigerator, with evidence suggesting they had been brutally murdered days earlier. The prime suspect was their reclusive son, Charles Rogers, who mysteriously vanished after the killings. Charles, described as a loner and possibly involved in intelligence work, left behind no trace, sparking wild theories. Some believe he killed his parents due to years of alleged abuse, while others suggest a deeper conspiracy involving the CIA. Despite extensive investigations, neither Charles nor the truth behind the murders has ever been uncovered. The Icebox Murders remain one of America's most gruesome unsolved crimes, leaving a dark stain on Houston's history. 12. The Setagaya Family Murders, 2000. On a cold December night in Tokyo, Japan, the Miyazawa family parents and 2 young children were brutally murdered in their home. The killer stayed in the house for hours, eating food from the fridge, using the computer, and even leaving evidence like blood and clothing behind. Despite this wealth of DNA and other clues, the murderer has never been identified. Was it a random act of violence, or was the family specifically targeted? Theories include everything from a deranged loner to a professional hit, but the motive remains unclear. Over 2 decades later, the Setagaya family murders continue to haunt Japan, a chilling reminder of how even the most meticulous investigations can fail to deliver justice. 13. The Ghost of Teresita Basa, 1977. The murder of Teresita Basa, a nurse in Chicago, took a bizarre turn months after her death. A co-worker claimed to be possessed by Teresita's spirit, who identified her killer by name. The suspect, Alan Showery, was found in possession of Teresita's stolen jewelry, and he eventually confessed to the crime. However, the case raises unsettling questions. Was this a paranormal intervention, or simply a lucky coincidence? Despite the conviction, the lack of solid physical evidence keeps the story shrouded in mystery. The Ghost of Teresita Basa is one of the strangest cases in criminal history, blurring the lines between the natural and the supernatural. 14. The Disappearance of Brian Schaffer, 2006. Brian Schaffer, a 27-year-old medical student, walked into a bar in Columbus, Ohio, one evening and was never seen again. Surveillance footage showed him entering the bar but provided no evidence of him leaving, as if he vanished into thin air. Extensive searches of the bar and surrounding areas yielded no clues, and his friends and family were left devastated. Theories include accidental death, foul play, or even Brian faking his disappearance to start a new life. The lack of evidence in such a public setting makes this case particularly baffling. Brian's disappearance remains one of the most perplexing modern cold cases, haunting both investigators and those who loved him. 15. The West Mesa Murders, 2009. In the desert outskirts of Albuquerque, New Mexico, the remains of 11 women were discovered buried in shallow graves. Most of the victims were sex workers, and many had been missing for years. Despite extensive investigations, The identity of the killer, known as the West Mesa Bone Collector, remains a mystery. Theories include a single serial killer, multiple predators, or even involvement from powerful individuals. The case is compounded by the vulnerability of the victims, whose disappearances initially received little attention. The West Mesa murders are a chilling reminder of how easy it is for predators to target those society overlooks, leaving behind a trail of horror and unanswered questions. 16. The Wow Signal. 1977. Astronomers at Ohio State University detected a 72-second radio signal so unusual that one researcher wrote "wow" next to the data, giving the event its famous name. The signal was incredibly strong and appeared to come from the constellation Sagittarius, leading many to speculate about its extraterrestrial origin. Despite repeated efforts to detect it again, the signal was never replicated, leaving scientists and enthusiasts alike baffled. Was it a message from intelligent life, or a rare cosmic event that we'll never see again? The Wow signal remains a tantalizing mystery, sparking both wonder and frustration as humanity continues to search for answers in the vastness of space. These stories remind us that some questions may never have answers, leaving shadows that stretch across history. If these mysteries kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like this video, share your theories in the comments, and subscribe for more unsettling tales. And if you're ready for more chills, watch our next video, 13 Most Shocking Disappearances That Defy Explanation. The unknown awaits.